What's up, you guys? My name is Hutch. I make videos, put them on the internet. And I've been making videos and putting them on the internet for since 2008, so that was 8 years ago. It's gonna be 8 years ago this year that I started doing this. And I know, it's hard to believe that a titan such as myself could ever make a single mistake on YouTube, but it happens. I was thinking today, or no, I'm sorry, I was thinking yesterday of an idea for some kind of vloggy video because I've been recently enjoying getting back into it, having a little quality time with you guys. And one of the topics that came through my mind was just a phrase that I got from Black Ops 1 whenever you killed yourself on accident, which was mistakes were made. And I just started thinking to myself, like, what are, like if I had to pick, like, what would be the top 5 mistakes that I've made throughout my entire time on YouTube. And so I made a list and I'm gonna talk about those things with you today. So the first thing that I put down on my list was calling out sniper lobbies, which it's been so long now that I don't think a lot of people that are just getting into YouTube know what sniper lobbies are. What they were back in the day was people would try and capture really good gameplay of Call of Duty, and then they'd have something for a montage or a commentary on their channel, and a lot of people that were sniping would deliberately make these lobbies that was just snipers in Call of Duty 4. So I can't tell you why. I can't tell you why, because I was fucking 24 at the time, or 25 when I first started doing this. But I would just leave these comments, like these like provoking, instigating comments on at the time what were big channels, and I would leave these comments saying, this gameplay is not impressive. You're doing these in sniper lobbies, and I would just come in and, like, in my mind it was just like, I'm doing this because I want the quality of videos on YouTube to be good. But really what was going on was I was probably upset that my videos maybe at the time weren't getting as much attention as these other videos, and I would just throw these temper tantrums. It went so far as to, like, I went to this one guy's channel, I can't even remember who he was. Went to this one guy's channel, got into an argument, and then I uploaded a video called Dear So-and-so. I can't even remember his name. I said, Dear So-and-so, suck my balls, Hutch. And it was just a video of me like going on like a 10 or a 15 kill streak in COD 4, all against like M16s and MP5s, and that was my way of gloating about it. But really, like, when I look back on that, I think to myself, like, what arrogance to leave comments like that. And I still think about that to this day, like, God, how embarrassing that I did that at like 24 years old. I'm sitting here realistically probably arguing with teenagers, and I think that's when it really sunk in, like, fuck, I need to not do that. The second thing on my list that I put was I did not properly assess my value at first, and I'm gonna try and explain what that means in a quick way, because I don't want this to be like a 25-minute video. But when I first became popular on YouTube, it was really difficult to figure out what that was worth, and I'm specifically talking monetarily, because I can have a few good months, in the holiday season for the launch of the biggest first-person shooter to date at the time, which was Modern Warfare 2. Just because I can do well during this time, does not mean that had longevity. So it was really hard for me to, number one, figure out how much money I should be asking for, and number two, to be comfortable with that, because it felt like I was cheating. So when I went from, I worked hard working jobs before. I would work 2 jobs. I would work 2 waiting jobs at the same time, and it was hard work, and long days, and you're tired afterwards, and yeah, and so to go from that, where I was making comparatively pennies, to this, where there was a lot of money to be made, there was not only this sort of like confusion about what I was worth, but there was also this inability to like accept that, to give myself credit for it, and that's something that I don't necessarily regret, because these things come with time, and eventually I did understand. I did have a more clear picture of what I was worth to different companies and how much I should be asking for. But and this isn't really a money thing, but it's not just about money. It's about respect, and it's about self-worth. And if you sell yourself short, people will buy you short. It took me a minute to get to where I am now, where I realistically have a good understanding of what I'm worth, but But yeah, you know, that's something that I wish if I would have learned that a little bit more early on, I think my life would have been much different in those early years. The third thing on my list is I put calling out TGS for partnerships, and this is something that some of you may remember from back in the day. But there was this. You know, I truthfully don't know if there's still an MCN, but there was this MCN called The Station. And then they had a little spinoff called the Game Station. I say little, but they had some like big partnerships, and they had some big channels under their belt. And what happened was, before, if you wanted to make money on YouTube off of gaming videos, which was hard because there was copyright stuff and it was kind of hard to circumvent that. Before, when you wanted to make money on YouTube, you would give your videos to a network. They would upload it on their channel. I'm pretty sure Machinima was the only gaming channel at the time that was doing this, and then you would make money off of their channel, and they would pay you like a flat CPM is usually how it was. But your own personal channel having a partnership, that was unheard of for gaming channels. But then the station and the Game Station came along and started telling people, why would you just upload to their channel? We can give you a partnership. And this one was just complete ignorance on my part, but I felt really threatened that another gaming company was coming along and being competitive. And so my immediate reaction to it was emotional, and it was just like wrong. So I got on Twitter and just started blasting like, any company that tells you they can give you a partnership is shady as hell. And I started going off on this company that, you know, realistically looking back, I didn't know anything about them. And so, you know, I've heard Total Biscuit talk about that. You know, I think he was a part of the station at the time too. But I've heard Total Biscuit talk about how Machinima was talking shit about the station on Twitter, but it wasn't Machinima. It was just specifically me. This one I think about more than any of the mistakes I made as far as arguments with people. Like, that was so out of line for me to do, and I get why I did it. Like, looking back, I understand why I did it, but I didn't quite fully understand the influence that I had at the time, and I also didn't even fully understand what I was mad about. And so I want to direct this specifically to Total Biscuit, to Husky Starcraft, to Next Gen Tactics, to, you know, like everyone that was a part of that in the beginning. And the way that I just badmouthed that whole thing was just completely unprofessional. And, you know, it was a long time ago. I would not make that mistake now, but I really wish that I hadn't done that. I felt like that put kind of like a black mark on my name, and it didn't like destroy me or anything, and there wasn't even a lot of backlash at the time, but I really wish that I hadn't done that. So number 4, I wrote getting involved in a lot of arguments. I just kind of put this generally because you know, at the time, I'm talking like 2010, 2011, Painkiller Already was like an up-and-coming podcast, and they would feature, like, they were kind of like the precursor to Drama Alert, I think I would say. And you know, there would be a lot of things that would go on. Like, I remember showing up to a PK episode where, you know, X-Jaws and White Boy were on defending. At the time, like, you could sort of game the system on YouTube. You could get your video featured on the front page permanently if you got enough likes and favorites and these sort of things. And the way that creators would incentivize their audience to do that, to like their videos and to favorite them, would be to give them like PSN gift cards and stuff like that. And so there was a few months where it was just the same few people on the front page of YouTube all the time. And you know, I was gonna make a stand and fight for what was right. And you know, I showed up, and I would insert myself. You know, that's just one example for the record. There were lots of other arguments to be had. I've gotten in arguments with Darkside Phil. I've gotten in arguments with Woody. I've gotten in arguments with White Boy. I've gotten in arguments with Wings. But like, there's one common denominator in all this, which is like me. I was the one getting in all these arguments, and I suppose you could say that there's something to be said for sticking up for what you think is right. But the way that I was doing it, looking back, was more attention seeking than anything else. And you know, it's kind of embarrassing. Okay, so the last mistake that I want to talk about is one that I think you guys are pretty much aware of, which is don't take long unannounced breaks on YouTube. It's not only is it not smart business wise, and to be clear, the times when I did leave, my mind wasn't wired for that sort of thinking anyways, but not only is it not smart business-wise, it's just kind of rude to the people that have supported you. So even though like there have been a couple of times when I really did need to take like a minute for myself and not feel the pressure that comes along with doing this sort of job, because there's like, you're like fighting to live in this space, every day, and that might not sit well with people that think that this job is just this cush job that's just easy all the time and low stress. But I'm here to tell you that it is a very stressful job in ways that I'd never been stressed like this before. Once you build something up like a social media presence or a YouTube channel or a Twitch channel, once you build it up and it's gotten to a point where it's like, it's a thing, it's like a big thing, then all of a sudden you got something to lose. And so there's a lot of fear that comes with doing this sort of thing and finding success with it, because when you're building it up, if you fail, then you fail. It's not the end of the world. Maybe you've got your other job going on at the time, and maybe this was just a hobby. But once it's finally something that you're afraid of losing, then all of a sudden a lot of stress comes along with that. But but the point is like, none of that is a justification just to disappear the way that I've done. The first time I disappeared for like 4 months. And then the second time, at least the first time was announced. The second time I did not announce it. I just stopped showing up for work one day because my life was just, because of the decisions that I had made, my life was very messy, unmanageable. It just looked like I was staring at the top of a mountain, and I was just never gonna get over all the things that had built up in my life, and I just stopped showing up for work, and I regret that. Like I'm glad that I got some time to myself, and I'm really super grateful to, however many of you guys stuck around both times. You're like, here he goes again, but you stuck around, and you helped me not take myself too seriously. So you guys kind of like poking fun at me for it is like totally fine with me. But yeah, you guys have saved my ass. I really think that I have one of the coolest audiences on YouTube, one of the most supportive audiences on YouTube, and yeah, so that's my video on mistakes on YouTube. I don't have much else to add to that, and if you like this video, then click thumbs up and let me know that you like it. Yeah, all right, talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.
Tell me how am I supposed to stop that? I could recollect.